It's Chris, Liege Games. Let's do this. Imagine a world with very few Kickstarters. Imagine that this is a dark shirt. What would next week look like? Well, we're getting close to that, right? I only have 3 games in the docket, really, that I really know of that are potentially going to launch next week. So, let's go into it. That gives us a little extra time for the miscellany in this video, including the over-unders, which are not looking so hot right now. But we may do something else along the lines of the over-under. We may throw an extra bling in there, if you will, for the month of December. But maybe, and I was pondering this, and let me know if you want in the comment section, because there's about 4 of us playing along. Maybe doing a little competition, you know? Play the over-under. I throw a little Google form in there. You fill it out each week with your bets. We tally them up in a spreadsheet. And say over a couple months span, whoever gets the most wins a game. I don't know. Just something a little fun. I'm tossing it around in my head. Let me know what you think. And if you miss it, viewer emails video earlier in the week. I couldn't resist. Strong Bad Style. Anybody? Homestar Runner? Anyway. Dating myself. Okay, it's not why you're here. Let's get into it. Let's get into what is going to be notable next week. It started out with Gloom of Kilforth. It progressed to Shadows of Kilforth. And now we have Call of Kilforth launching on, tentatively, the 7th. This latest game from Tristan Hall, Hall or Nothing Productions, out of the UK, is a 1 to 4 player high fantasy dice rolling ability gathering upgrading game, card based. This is a relatively popular under the radar game, especially on the solo side of things. Both Shadows and Gloom, the original, have been a real hit from that side of things. As you go around from location to location, battling enemies, leveling up your abilities, collecting keywords to complete quests until you fight the final boss, all while trying to stop the advance of the Gloom. The aesthetic on this game is second to none. The original as well as the sequel. And the third, I'm sure, will be up to par. Now, it's stat-based, dice rolling adventure, and so that sometimes I think has turned people off, and it's a little bit more of a premium product. It's a premium price for a premium product, and so it's going to cost you upwards of $50 to $70 for a game like this with the stretch goals and with whatever comes with it. And as with their previous campaigns, it's likely that if you want to get in on any of the previous iterations, that will probably be an option as well. I'm excited. I have always loved the aesthetic of this game, but I just could not get the original played. And so for me, I ended up actually trading it away. But I would be lying to you if I said that this wasn't going to appeal to me as, you know, third time's the charm, right? Because again, look at this. And again, it's not necessarily anything dramatically new or different. But obviously, with the third in the trilogy, they're going to have some iterations, some differences that are going to set it apart from the previous two. And that's always intriguing to me as well. What can be improved upon? What can be tweaked? And how are things different enough to attract a new audience, but also to engage your core audience in the first place? Like I said, I wasn't kidding about the art side of things. So if you're interested, check this one out when it launches tentatively on the 7th. Now, I've talked about this one before. This is Canosa. This is a relaunch also coming up on the 6th. And so this is a relaunch of more of an abstract game, which you really wouldn't get the gist of that based on the cover art here. This is at least in the previous attempts, a wooden version where you are sirens, there's the cover art tie-in, trying to lure sailors and ships back to your original port. The first one to be able to do so for a certain amount wins, and you're using these rings to facilitate that. Again, the aesthetic of these pieces and this abstract is top notch. But obviously with that comes a heavier price point. Now, interestingly enough, they had one campaign that funded back in 2020, and then they had another that was canceled at the beginning of 2021. So what is third time's the charm? Speaking of that, I guess 2 in a row. What is that going to look like? Because you can see here, $26,000 goal. Previously, it raised $8,000 with 76 people. So, I mean, that's a big jump, even though it raised about the same amount of people-wise, backer-wise there. What did the pledge point look like? Well, again, like I said, well, $39, not too bad, actually. So that's actually better than I was expecting. Now, what was it the first time around, out of curiosity? The Deluxe Wooden Edition, $125. Whew! So they scaled it down for more of a retail presence. So again, what is the actual third launch going to look like? I love me some Abstract. This was one that I just wasn't quite sold on either way. The mechanisms of using the rings in order to bring them back just is sort of a try before you buy for me, if you will. Because you're going to be able to manipulate yours, but also put your ring on other people's that are adjacent. So it's an interesting concept. I'm interested to see what they've done different. And I'm going to be watching it when it launches because, like I said, I'm a big fan of abstracts. And, you know, they're different enough that there's always space for one more in my collection. So that is launching on the 7th. Now, next up, actually going back a day on the 6th, and this one's launching on GameFound, is the Palaces of Carrara. This is a Kramer and Kiesling game from originally in 2012. This is going to be a second edition. The original one out of Z-Man Games' ilk is now out of print. And so we're going with the second edition here, you can see is slightly different. What are all the differences going to be? Well, that's going to be the big question. And as we've seen with several other games that even haven't been out of print, second editions seem to be all the rage. I'm looking at you, Great Western Trail. Now, the original game was actually a 2013 Kennerspiel nominee. So, I mean, this is a game that's coming with a pedigree as a tile placement set collection game, which when I looked at this originally, I thought this was more heavy Euro sort of worker placement because I knew nothing about this. And so now you've got me intrigued because set collection tile placement is a little bit up my ilk. So I guess what we're going to be doing with this one is there's going to be an advanced mode, but it's also going to change how you're scoring with the statues and the marble and that sort of thing. Again, maybe this is still a little bit too heavy for me when I go over to this picture and look at all these moving parts and pieces. But again, this is one where I'd like a little bit something slightly more complicated, but not like super heavy. So you guys can tell me in the comment section, based on my other like interests, do you guys think this one would be too heavy for me? Or would this be a nice step up and not too overwhelming? Again, as a non-Euro guy. Apart from that, this is probably outside of my depth to really analyze the differences between the first edition and the second edition. But what I would say is if you're going to put this out there, like several other games have done in the past, like we've seen with Suburbia or Castles of the Mad King Ludwig, when those were put out, when Game Brewer's page launches, I want to see right at the top of the page, this is what is new, this is what is different, and this is why you should get this. Well, obviously, if the other one's out of print, I mean, the cache is part of it. But is it going to be more along the lines of the Suburbias and the Castles of the Mad King Ludwig that I just said? Or is it going to be more along the lines of the other side of things with like the Amsterdams and the remake of Bruges with the, again, albeit way too over deluxeified Feldian side of things with their latest Kickstarter from Queen Games? Because if it deluxeifies itself out too much, I think you're going to have a repeat of that. If it doesn't offer enough incentive to get it on the campaign, well, I mean, again, it's out of print, so there's going to be some no matter what. But it's going to be an interesting test of the market, again, compared to the other Euro games we've seen in the past year or two, what deluxeifications, what schemes are up in that sense. That's it. That is it. Fiend in terms of games. So we get plenty of extra time for the over-under game. And it's not looking good for me at all. At all. I can tell you 3 offhand that I just lost. And I think all 3 of us were all like pretty much the same this week. And so it's really interesting from that side of things. So let's just go to the camera, to the shot. Let's just go back to the other view so you can see what I'm talking about. First up is Carreau. I bet the over-under was 55. And I think I picked over. And it was only at 45. So lost that one. Going into Thursday afternoon, I actually thought relatively good of myself on this next one. The first one was the over-under on what was going to raise more money, Harakiri or Borderlands. And then Borderlands just didn't stop. And Harakiri's killing it at almost $600,000. but Borderlands is destroying it with almost just over $750,000. So that's wrong. And the Borderlands pledges are also less money. So that means they're going to have more backers, which 5,700 to 2,600 is killing it as well. So I was actually Harakiri on both of those as well. So missed those. Whoops. Now the over-under on Resurgence, look how good I did on this one. At least, again, I'm good at prop bets, if nothing else. I said over-under 90,000. I don't remember what I actually picked, though. Let me go check. Survey says, comment section on Board Game Geek is I picked the under. Yes! 1 so far. And the last one. I said over or under 10,000 backers, and it was 10,800. What did I pick? Survey says over! Yes! 2 for 5 this week. 2 for 5. There we go. So, what do we got going on this week, though? What are the prop bets going to be this week? Let's talk. So, first up, Skyrim. We're going to go with Skyrim on this one. Skyrim, does it break? Let's say it's got just under 2 days left at the time of me filming this. So we just hit the 48-hour mark earlier in the day. Let's say, does it break 1.175 million pounds? 1.175. Fair enough? Fair enough. Number 2. Mindbug is actually going to be ending next week when this video airs, just after this one premieres, but on the same day. So we're going to count this. Mindbug. Does Mindbug break, let's say 300,000. Does Mindbug break 300,000 over or under? That's number 2. I'm doing my homework on this one. Kilforth. This one, Shadows, the most recent one, raised 158,000 pounds. Gloomhaven with the Gloom, the original, the reprint here, 207,000 pounds. The original only raised 75,000 pounds. So let's say by the time this video premieres, assuming it launches on the 7th, does it raise more than, let's say, 100,000 pounds? 100,000 pounds, over or under? That's 3. Let's make the 4th one a little bit easier. The remake, Palaces of Carrara, probably mispronouncing that every time. Does this break, let's say, again, I have no idea what the market for this is. Let's say, does this break $50,000 by the time this video launches next week? The upcoming video does. You know what? No. Let's make it 65,000. Let's make it $65,000. 65,000. I have no idea. It could be slightly under that. I could see it blowing that out of the water. I have no idea the market for this, but let's go with it and see what happens. That's number 4. Last but not least, let's go with Heroes of the Shire. You may not have been watching this one, but I've been watching it very closely. This is just under the $100,000 US dollar mark. I know, repetitive there. I try. Let's say, does this break? You know what? It's got 5 days to go at this point. Does this one go more than $110,000 over or under as the final amount? And we're going US dollars on this one. So there you go. That is number 5 of the 5. So let's do something else completely different. Rest of the month. We'll kind of add this as a bonus 6th one. We've seen Borderlands. We've seen Harakiri now. Both are on pace to break 1 million. I mean, Borderlands, I'd be shocked if it didn't. Harakiri is still very strongly going that direction. Let's say, does anything else launch this month? Launched this month. So this one's going to be a long-term one. Does anyone else launch this month? Non-TCG, we're going to put that in, asterisks there. Break 500,000. Does anything else break 500,000 that launches this month? What do you think? Yes or no? Or let's do the over-under thing. 0.5 games break $500,000 US dollars that launched this month. Over or under 0.5 games. There you go. There you go. I did it as an over-under this time, not a yes-no. Okay, there you go. That's it. That's the over-under game. Let me know. You can participate in the YouTube comments. If you want to go, I'll throw the Board Game Geek link for the blog, where it's been a little bit more active, where we've been a little, play along in the comment section there. But hey, I enjoy this. I'm having fun with it. I hope hopefully you are too. Or not, and you're skipping over this section. But that's okay too. So, what else is new? I got a couple mini reviews coming out. My Vagrant song review, I really stand by that. I think that's a real potential Game of the Year winner. I am going to be having my at least partial Blaze Blue Exceed review out shortly. Review, overview, excited, exaggerated enjoyment of that. I have a Top Secret game coming in to review as well, hopefully before the end of the month. And let's see, what else? Yeah, just a small smattering of things. I don't really have a whole lot of other Kickstarter side of things coming out or being sent to me anytime soon. So I think I'm just going to try and do a couple others. I think I just got a copy of Lizard Wizard. I backed the deluxe version of Lizard Wizard, and that just came in the mail. And my copy of, speaking of Exceed, the Seventh Cross boxes came as well earlier this week. So I'm super pumped about that. Okay, TV time. I have finished The Brain. Dr. Brain, not The Brain. Dr. Brain from Apple TV. It's a very interesting take on a guy who is on the autism spectrum and growing up, and then he becomes like a brain scientist. And he figures out how to attune his brainwaves to people that are just recently deceased and get their memories. And he's trying to solve out what happened to his kid. And it's better than it sounds. It really is. I was a little bit turned off by it, but there's only 5 episodes. So it's really kind of worth watching. Apart from that, my wife and I still have not gotten to a Wheel of Time. I'm disappointed in us. I'm disappointed. And so that might be coming out this weekend as well. I think I talked about this previously. I finished Hellbound. I finished Arcane, both on Netflix. If I had to suggest one over the other, I would probably suggest Arcane. Hellbound is just different. I mean, it's definitely one of those shows clearly inspired and based off of the manga, the whatever it was. I think it was manga, but the comic, if you will. Just cover my broad bases there. And Arcane is from League of Legends people, Riot. So again, I give them a lot of kudos. The animation is stellar. So they were both good watches from that side of things. Catching up on some Bob's Burgers. I've been binging Bob's Burgers the last couple days. I don't really know why. That's just a entertaining show. It just is. Maybe one of these days I'll tune into Hawkeye. It just doesn't have the appeal to me. But, eventually I'll do it so I can kind of put it in my pantheon of the other Marvel MCU shows that I've watched. But I have a feeling I'm going to be slightly let down by it as I was with the other 3. So I think there's a real good chance of that happening. Apart from that, I don't really know. We're going to try and play a game or 2 tomorrow night. Maybe I'll try and get Lizard Wizard out. So that always sounds made up. Lizard Wizard. Lizard Wizard! Hyperspace Kraken! I don't know. It's one of those things. So that's all I got. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know on the feedback on the other videos and the segments and all that sort of stuff. The viewer email one. I'm going to do that one again. I had fun with that one. And the over-under. Gosh, I like over-unders. I don't know why I like talking about this, but it's a good time. So, as always, that's all I got. If you made it this far and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I really was hoping to break 5K by the end of the year. That's not going to happen, but we're going to try our best anyway. So, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Stay classy. Have a great day. See you around. Blue light. Blue light.